Hey, how you doing? It's Clayton here from howtodrawcomics.net and the How to Draw Comics Academy, bringing you another episode of the How to Draw Comics podcast. And this time we have a very special guest, Michael Oden, the creator of Elysian Fields Reborn, which we will be taking a look at in this episode, as well as talking about what writers look for when it comes to hiring artists, and of course everything that goes into actually making a comic book, which Michael knows very well because he's been through the process quite a few times at this point. Welcome, Michael. It's amazing to have you here, and it's been a while, my friend. I've missed our chats.
Hey man, I'm excited to be here. It has certainly been a minute. It's one of those things where you go out and you do a lot of work, and then you take a break, and then you come back, and everything's changed. And it's just like, what do you do?
Oh, so you took a little break, huh? What have you been up to?
Look,
a break from comics, or
just every single time that I do a project, like I go and I get everything fulfilled, and I kind of step away for a little bit to like decompress and get my head back in the right space. So yeah, like it's a whole thing where I think it's important that, like, as much as we love doing this, there is a aspect of it that is a job, and you've got to make sure that you get a sec to breathe and what have you, and focus on the other things in your life. So
oh, absolutely, it's pretty much running a business. That's how I look at running comic book campaigns.
100%.
Because I mean, you got to come up with the project. You got to make sure that it's viable. In other words, that people are going to absolutely love it. Otherwise, those backers just aren't going to be there on day one. And then, of course, you have to tell people about it, and create it, which is a heck of an undertaking, as I'm sure you know. No wonder that you needed a break by the end. I think that's important. You don't want to have burnout. I mean, you probably end up with burnout at the end of a project anyway, regardless, no matter how much you try to manage the stress of it all. But you're feeling refreshed, Michael? You're back in action?
I mean, absolutely, man.
Cool.
Absolutely. Awesome. Always.
Yeah. Nice. And so let's talk a little bit about some of the topics that I'd love to pick your brain about in this interview. One of them being something that interests a lot of up-and-coming artists, of course, who are wanting to get work out there. That being, what is it that writers look for when it comes to collaborating with artists? Because you're a writer, you have ran many Kickstarters at this point, successfully, I might add. People love Elysian Fields. And, there must be a list of tick boxes there when it comes to observing someone's portfolio and figuring out whether or not they're going to be a good fit for your project. Talk to us a little bit about that.
It's really cool because I actually got to talk a little bit about this earlier today as well.
Cool.
When it comes down to is that every single project that a writer does has an identity, right? A visual aesthetic that the writer has in their head on how best to convey the story that they want to tell. We met, I think I was doing like Elysian Fields Pyramid Gambit, but we really started talking because of The Embrace. And you did that amazing cover with Corey on that, which was beautiful. Still a huge fan favorite.
It was a
that
lot of
we
fun.
Used for our special edition. Oh, you guys crushed it. We will have to do another collaboration at another point, Clayton. But that's a conversation for another time.
I'd love to.
But so like when it comes down to stories, every single one of them has their own identity. And so like The Embrace is a dark gothic style superhero that very much has a lot of 90s inspiration and everything like that, and its design and its aesthetic. So when I'm looking for an artist, I'm yeah, exactly. When I'm looking for an artist, I am looking for somebody that can match that project, right? So like that's who I am. That's how I'm going to be focusing it. Then Elysian Fields, when we did the reboot, one of the big things I wanted to do is strike a new visual tone where we have this almost Joe Mad style art that's like a really cool blend between Western comic book and Eastern manga style. And so like that's ultimately what it comes down to, is just finding the right aesthetic to fit the project. So that's like number one that I look for. But the second thing I look for, and this is when we're having initial conversations, is, are you actually interested in doing the project, or are you just trying to like get the paycheck? And there's nothing wrong with trying to get the paycheck, but as a writer, I want to know that the story speaks to you. And like, this is not in any way me saying, hey, you should just tell the guy, oh, I want to do this project just because you want the work, because that's not going to go anywhere. Yeah, like there, and like I think that a lot of people can tell when you're just you're just trying to get the job. And while I know that this is a competitive field and everybody wants to put food on their table, it's important to know when to say no.
For sure. Like, say no for you. Oh, right. So say no for the artist.
In general, even from an artist's perspective, if you don't feel like this, like the story that the artist is bringing to you is something that you,
or the writer is bringing,
not even just can bring to it, but want to, like if you don't read the script and it doesn't just smack you in the face and tell you, hey, I want like this is something that I want to do, I would say pass.
For
like
sure.
Everybody's got to take, like I know everyone's got to take jobs and this, that, the other, but like from a writer's perspective, I never want to work with somebody that just sees like, oh yeah, this is fine, and like those are words I dread to hear.
Yeah. And is that something that's happened to you? Does it happen to you?
No, I haven't had that yet. I am fortunate. Most of the artists that I've connected with have really engaged well with the projects that I've wanted to bring to the table with them. When I sent Will, Tiago, and Ruvian the script for Elysian Fields, all of them read it and were like, yeah, when do we start?
Okay, cool.
Like they were all in from the jump. When I talked to Dean James about The Embrace, and I gave him my initial pitch and everything like that, and I told him I needed help designing the character because I was having issues writing the script because I couldn't visualize him. Dean was all too enthusiastic. Like, he loved the idea of the character. He and like it was, he and I went and chatted, I want to say like 3-4 hours a day for like a week. And then he came back and with the character sketch, and it was amazing.
So you knew that he was down for it. Like, he was into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like that's what I look for as a writer. Is I want to see your enthusiasm for the project. I want you to be as excited about what we're doing as I am, because it like, especially at my level where I'm an indie guy, I finance all of my projects, and then like it's on my shoulders. It's very personal to me, and that's not to say that it isn't for larger scale creators or anything like that, but like it's literally all on me. And so sure. I want to make sure that the people that I'm working with have that same level of enthusiasm and dedication.
No, absolutely. I think that is a really great point. Do you look for an artist who can produce quality work that you feel will sell the book? Does that ever come to mind for you? Like, okay, if I put this artist's
Absolutely.
work on the campaign, is it going to attract the target audience that I'm looking for? Is this, I mean, I guess you're not just thinking about the artist, you're also thinking about the audience that you're going to be pitching your book to, and whether or not you've
100%.
got the
I
ingredients
mean,
to pull
at
them
the
in.
end of at the end of the day, comics is a visual medium. I am the writer, and I'm creating the meat and potatoes, as it were, right? But like, the artist is the person that brings things in, and that's everything from that initial impression with the cover to everything going on in the interior, right? And so, and like, that's another thing, is like, you also have to be careful about the covers that you're getting, because if you have, like, let's say I went and somehow managed to wrangle an Alex Ross cover, right?
Mhm.
Like the big time
Somehow.
of the big, like,
Yeah.
somehow wrangled an Alex
In
Ross.
some
But
dream
then
reality.
yes. But then my interior art was done by, like, we will be kind and say a competent interior sequentialist, but really isn't at professional level,
Not Alex
right? Like,
Ross.
isn't something that you would isn't something that you would like, that would compete with anything else that's on the shelf from an artistic standpoint. Like,
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
you
So
you have now
underwhelming.
put yourself in a situation where, like, your readers are going to be like, well, I had the promise of an Alex Ross cover, which I was hoping was going to be translated into really good interior work, and then it was not.
Yeah, no, totally.
And so, like, that's another thing you've got to think about, is, you know, making sure that your covers are at least on par with the art inside. Like, obviously you want to make sure that it's good, and it can be better, but like, if the art team that is working on the book is working at a semi-professional level, and then you're getting like a big name where the quality of the cover art really just completely outshines the interior,
Okay. I
you're
see what
kind
you're
of running
saying.
into a trouble.
So you're
Yeah.
kind of like, all right, what bar do I want to set this book at? If I set it here,
Yes.
I can't all of a sudden like raise one aspect of it to the clouds, you know, to the moon.
Yeah.
I've got to make sure that it stays here. Otherwise, that bar is going to set the expectations of the audience. If they open that book and it's not Alex Ross, and it's instead some other like low tier, no name artist that can't draw as well, it's going to be a bit of a, well, it's going to be a bit of a disappointment, isn't it? So,
Absolutely.
absolutely, I get that. It's a matter of contrast almost there, setting the expectations of the audience. That's profound. That's not something that I've thought about before, but it is a dilemma that pops up again and again when you visit the comic book store, you see a kick-ass cover, you look inside the book, and, well, to put it bluntly, the art is just not as
Not there.
exciting. Yeah. And so I think that's a really good point, Michael. Very good insight that you've just given us. And there's a lot of artists that go out there and make their own books, of course, and it is worthwhile for them to think about, hey, if you're going to put a ton of time into the cover, it'd be worth your while to make sure that every panel on the interiors has an equal level of quality, because you don't want to disappoint that audience. You want them coming back next time. And even those interior page previews that you pop up into your comic book campaign, that is a massive selling point. That's what's going to make the audience go, damn, I want to be a part of this. I want to see what this story has to offer. Because at the end of the day, it's always about the audience. I mean, they're the ones giving you money. So you want to make
Absolutely.
sure that in return, you've got the value that they're looking for, an experience that's going to be unforgettable, that even after they close the book, they're going to talk about your project with their friends. They're going to pass it on to them. Word of mouth marketing. There's nothing more powerful than that.
Absolutely. No, and I fully agree with you. And obviously, as you said, word of mouth marketing is like the best kind of press. Like from an indie perspective, book is done. It has been received. Like this is a huge deal because there are people who have done these that haven't gotten their books out to customers.
Totally.
Then there's obviously the aspect of, hey, not only did I get the book is very good. Let me go tell all my friends about it. And that might not get you all of their friends to back, but even if you get one or two, that's a win.
For sure. So what do you think then an artist should put in their portfolio? And by portfolio, I mean an online portfolio, because let's be honest, that's what we're dealing with these days. You're not going to have people rocking up at your house with a hard copy portfolio. So what do you need to see, Michael, for you to...
I think that the way that artists should go about their portfolio, and this is just speaking as myself, is style. I would almost treat it like a targeted resume, right? Is everybody has stuff that they like drawing, right? Like their prefer, like obviously most artists are very talented and are multifaceted and can really dip into different genres, this, that, the other, but everyone's got their preferences. I like it. If you really like sci-fi, that should be like front faced, and you should have your portfolio organized to highlight your preferred styles of of aesthetic, everything like that, to really push out what your artistic identity is. Because let's say you're a guy that really likes science fiction. Well, I'm a writer that writes a lot of historical pieces. There's not a lot of overlap there. Like doing a history thing might not interest you, and that's okay. But because you never know, maybe sometime down the line I have an idea for something like that, and I could use an artist for that. But at the end of the day, everyone has their preferences, and I think that when it comes down to organizing your portfolio, what you should be putting out there is showcasing what style is your preference, what types of stories and visuals that you like to put on the page, because that will help writers find you. Because one of the first things that I do when I have a new script and I need some artists, whether it's for a variant cover, whether it's for interiors or anything, is I go to ArtStation and I look up stuff that's like what I'm writing. And I try to see what samples are out there.
So you're looking for the genre, the artist working in the genre that your book is in as well.
Correct. So a great example of this is a couple of years back, I did with Global Frequency Studios, I did a book called Judex. And so it was beautiful black and white art. And the whole point was we were trying to capture the aesthetic of a black and white film, because it was this old reimagined silent film character that we turned into this kind of cultural defender of Paris during the occupation in the 40s. So we wanted to make sure that we found the right person for that. And so you bet your ass, the first thing that I did was I went to ArtStation and I started looking up artists who worked in predominantly black and white with high contrast, maybe even some charcoal in there. And we're looking for just really, really cool, dark, heavy black and white art. And that's where I found our artist for that, Fabrizio Ugolini. And holy shit, did he crush it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he crushed it. I remember the first time I saw some of the art for that book, I was absolutely blown away. I thought, damn, Michael Oden stepping it up here. Wow. So it's very interesting. You've mentioned ArtStation a few times. Is that where artists should be creating their portfolio? Because I'm sure it's not just you that's seeking artists from that website. I would bet that it's
so
other
if you don't
writers and creators.
if you don't have an art station that's like working as a business professional and not having LinkedIn, right? Like you absolutely should have a digital portfolio at ArtStation. You also should be hanging out in, like, there are so many indie comics groups that their sole purpose is to connect writers with artists, and you should be posting your most recent works in those pages once a week.
Yeah.
Like,
and are you as a creator, as a writer, are you on those forums, those groups,
I
actively
am,
seeking
and
out artists and talent?
In fact, I have found at least 3 or 4 people that I'm hoping to have do covers with from the How to Draw Comics Facebook page.
That's awesome.
Every single
wow.
Like, I have my like notifications up, so whenever somebody posts up in How to Draw Comics, it generally gets into my news feed, and so I make sure, because like you have a immensely talented base of people that are constantly leveling up their game, and you never know when one of these guys is going to get to a point where it's like they are on a professional level, and like I'm all about trying to help the rising tide. And obviously you also have some pretty big names that post in there as well, and so it's a really cool thing to get to go and see what these guys are working on, get ideas of what kinds of things they could be working on future projects that I'm looking at doing. And like that's what you should be doing, is using social media as a way to front face your art. The other thing that you need to be doing is using Instagram. Instagram has got some of the highest engagement of any social media platform. It has an insane ROI, and artists build followings fast on Instagram, and you never know when, you've gotten a few thousand followers, and a solid quarter of them could be someone like me who is actively looking at your portfolio and going, okay, what can I, like, this guy's got something, or girl, and be like, what book could I use them for?
Oh yeah. It's like, if you want to be successful on Instagram, you either have to be an Instagram chick or you've got to be an artist, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and you know what, man? That just makes me so chuffed that the How to Draw Comics Facebook group is actually linking people together.
So a while back, I saw Stan Yak post something on the group, and that put me in touch with him. Great artist. I think Vu Dan posted a thing a few months ago. That was like Greek. He's working on an Odyssey comic.
Yep.
With somebody, and I was just like, okay, definitely saving this guy's information. Absolutely awesome. Fantastic. My qualms with the historical accuracy aside, the art was gorgeous.
That's awesome.
So like,
I love
that. That's the whole thing, man. Is it's one of these things that you have created something that is not just a great network, like a networking thing where people can, help each other out and give creative feedback on how to improve each other's art, but you've also created a place where writers such as myself can pay attention and be like, oh man, I've never seen this guy post before. This looks stellar. Let me go hit him up and see what his professional rates are. Like, not even necessarily signing something, but to know that, like, this is what this guy is, and where I can work that into my budget, that's massive.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. It fills me with so much energy, because we got this little sub-industry going on outside of the mainstream comic book industry, and it's all online. And I reckon it's probably way bigger, in fact, even though it's like underneath it all. It's like the underbelly of the comic book industry as a whole, which is, kind of awesome. But what's super great about that is you've got artists in there who, as you mentioned, are actively trying to level up their skill set. So they're motivated to be the best artists they can be. And you got these other writers and creators coming in there to hopefully scoop them up. It's a different way of working than we've ever seen before. You know, back in the early days of the comic book industry, it's a modern way of working, and there's more opportunity than there ever has been to pursue your passion and get paid to do it as a living. I mean, that just blows my mind. It's so cool because you, as an artist, if you really love this craft, you have a community there that's going to support you in cultivating your skill set. And then that very same community is going to offer doors that you can step through and actually work on some of these projects being paid to do it. That's just such a wonderful era to be in as a comic book artist and a comic book writer and creator, because then you've got the Kickstarter side of it, the crowdfunding aspect that makes it so that even if you're an individual crafting a comic book, even if it's just you, you can cultivate an audience and get it out there in front of them and actually earn a living doing it. I mean, there's plenty of examples of that. You're one of them, Michael. I mean, I don't know if you can earn a full living doing it just yet, but I know that you're well on your way, and at least you're earning something.
Not quite there yet. It's like I'm hoping here in the next couple of years, maybe not getting to a point where I'm full time, but bringing in enough money for it where like I can actually start really investing in some things and growing it to a much larger scale. Like I'm doing a couple conventions this year. I'm actually going to be at one here next weekend, which is very exciting.
That is very exciting. Michael, let me ask you something. How do you know when an artist is at a professional level? Because I think a lot of artists wonder that. Like, am I there yet? Am I a professional?
So it's definitely one of those things where it's a touchy subject, because obviously art is what? It's subjective, right? Just because I don't really mesh with something doesn't mean that there isn't somebody else that does, and just because I don't like it doesn't make that other person's opinion about the art like not good. Like it doesn't invalidate it in any way, shape, or form. So it's one of those things where it's like obviously consistency in line work, right? Like if you're looking at a pencil artist, you want to make sure that they're able to consistently draw characters to the same level of accuracy across multiple panels, because this is one of the big things about comics, especially when you're looking at interior work, right? Is there's a lot of tedium. There's a lot of you doing the same thing over and over and over again, and so like it can bog you down. And so you'll notice in some artists where like their quality will be like really good one panel, and then they'll like, try to draw focus on something from another, and you can tell, and it's just like from my standpoint, that's something that I look at and be like, okay, well, we need 100% on every panel.
Totally. Yeah. So discipline, really, and dedication.
Yeah, like I think discipline's a big thing. Obviously, making sure that characters have proper proportions, or if they are exaggerations that are meant to be stylized, that they how to put it, because I don't want to say like they look good. Like
Well, no. I mean, that's the thing. That's why I actually a lot of the time will ask people who aren't artists what they think of my work, if I really want to get some objective feedback on it. And that's what answer I expect. I either expect them to say, yeah, it looks cool, or it looks bad.
Or
now they might not know, but they'll be able to tell that it's one or the other, right? And I guess you as a writer, I don't know if you do art yourself, Michael. But I'm supposing that you
I
fall into
dabble.
that category, right? Like, do you know when a character is actually out of proportion, or does it just translate as bad to you?
I actually, so it was my dream for a very long time to do comic book art as well. Like, and I'm okay. Like, I am not a professional by any stretch of the imagination. I do okay, like figure art. Like, I can draw people all right. Um, I'm terrible with backgrounds. Motion is something that I have issues with. So like very much still figures, like poster, like it, like I would be comfortable doing like a $5 trading card for somebody. Like
Right.
that's about the extent of my skill. Like I can do a pretty decent character profile, and that's about it.
So you could sketch up an idea for an artist, like, hey, all right, this is kind of
Yeah,
what I'm
absolutely.
thinking. Can you make it better?
And like it, like, you know, I've done all of, like, you know, when I was in high school, I had an art teacher. I went to a military school, so like all the teachers had rank, but we had this art teacher, Colonel Muldowney, who really was
Cool.
impressed with what I was doing at the time as a high schooler, and so he gave me like tons of workbooks and stuff on, you know, anatomy, negative space, doing thumbnail exercises, because, you know, I wanted to do comics, and so like he was literally giving me all the tools, which was really great. So I do actually have a background in that. I can look at something and be like, yeah, that's not like it, like that. This person's arm is like way too long for what they're doing, or this, that, the other. Like, don't get me wrong, comics, there is definitely a rule of cool aspect, right? Where
oh, totally,
you're literally you're messing with human anatomy to make the body do crazy poses and this, that, the other, that aren't real. And like realistically, it's like that dude's overextended his elbow or his shoulder or this, that, the other, but it doesn't matter because on the page it looks great.
Yeah.
And so that's fine. There are definitely exceptions where you're exaggerating the human form to create an iconic or dramatic moment in a book that's stylized. And that's all well and good. There's a difference between that and like somebody who clearly doesn't really understand how, like, it's one of those things where in writing, there's a huge thing of you have to know the rules before you can break them, right?
Oh,
it's very much the same thing in art. Like, really you have to know you have to know how those things work before you can really start toying with them and doing your own thing.
Let me ask you something else then, Michael. Do you think as a writer, it's worthwhile having somewhat of an art background? Maybe not an extensive one, but at least enough to be able to tell what's wrong with a piece of art and what needs to be fixed, and to be able to tell whether or not it's actually good. Because I swear, man, some writers can't tell, and they end up putting out books
and
with
that's
terrible art,
a huge deal. And I think
selling.
that the answer is unequivocally yes. Even if your level of artistic ability is drawing stick figures, you need to be listening to lectures on art. You need to be understanding camera angles. You need to be understanding proportion. You need to be understanding negative space. You need to understand all of these things because they all factor into layout. And at the end of the day, writing a comic book script is a blend of technical and creative writing.
Oh, for sure.
You are telling a narrative story, absolutely. But at the end of the day, your script is only going to be read by who? Your artist. Because what that script is doing is informing your artist how to convey the narrative that you have imagined onto a page. And it's very difficult if you have no artistic background at all to explain to an artist how you want a Dutch angle placed here to give a dynamic shot of your character doing something. It's very difficult for you as a writer to understand ghost movement through like doing like levels of subdued characters to convey motion across a page, and this is, I actually have that background, and it's still really complicated to explain. And every now and again, you'll have an artist who goes, I have no idea what this means, and then you have to show them. But that's the whole thing, is if you do not have any experience, I'm sorry, I saw something in the chat that just made me chuckle a little bit. To answer this very briefly, Michael, what did you do to get you sent to military school? I didn't do anything wrong. I was actually in like the very small percentage of kids that was there because I chose to be there. My goal was to go to West Point. That's a whole other thing. But getting back to the topic at hand, what was I saying? ADHD brain just threw me off.
No, you were talking about how when it comes to telling your artist what kind of angles you want to have used within a comic book panel, how do you convey that to them in a way that they understand?
Absolutely. And like that's the whole deal, is that you have, this goes back to, you have to write what you know. And this isn't just from a narrative standpoint. You are literally telling your artists what you want to have happen on a page. If you don't know what you want, how the hell can you expect them to?
Oh, for sure.
And then how does that translate onto the page for the reader?
Big time.
Like, don't get me wrong. Most people that are going to read your books are just going to see the art and be like, oh, this looks great. And that's going to be what it is, because most people aren't art critics, right? Most people haven't been haven't been studying this stuff for ages. The big problem, though, and I learned this from Aaron Neff, is this. He always said this: you got to plan for the lowest common denominator. You got to plan for that 1%, that one jackass that's going to see your book, and the stupidest thing is just going to set him off.
Yeah.
And it's important, is because if you aren't thinking like that, something major could fall through the cracks.
It could, yeah. You got to be on top of it.
Then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, you know what you were saying there reminded me of Scorsese, the film director, and how he would actually sketch out what he wanted to see through the camera, right? Kind of like a storyboard, I guess you could say. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Any writer, in fact, can do this. Just draw a stick man in the frame where you want it to be. Make sure that the frame is the dimensions that you're looking for on the page. I think knowing a little bit of cinema photography is a really good thing for both artists and writers, because you are essentially kind of making a movie here. In some sense, it's just delivered in a different format.
That's how it kind of plays out in my head. And it's funny because when I was trying to teach myself how to write a comic script, because there are fantastic pages like yours called How to Draw Comics, there are far fewer resources on how to write them. So
absolutely.
One of the things that I tried to do was try to take some screenplay classes, because it's a similar kind of deal. Now, I ended up finding the most pretentiously done screenplay class that I could have found. I found it on Udemy, and
cool.
This guy was just so full of himself. It was ridiculous. It was like, yeah, I'm one of the screenwriters for August Rush. And let me talk to you like I'm like God's gift to the world of film writing. And I'm just like, dude, there is no reason why. Oh, man. Every single one of his lectures was a quote of his that he was using to foreshadow him saying it in the lecture. Every single one of the titles of the classes. And I was just like, oh, my God. And
Did you learn anything from the guy?
I actually got one good thing out of the class, which was how to write an elevator pitch and summary. which
That's
was
awesome.
really good. Like that was actually the one really good lesson that I got from that. The rest of it was very frustrating because it was like literally creative writing 101 stuff. It was like, what's a protagonist? Today we're going to talk about what a protagonist is. Like, dude, I don't need this. I need you to focus on structure. Like any Yahoo that's past high school literature should know what an antagonist, protagonist is, what 3-act structure is. Anything like all of that stuff should have been covered anywhere between first grade and 12th grade. Like you should
For
have
sure.
heard those terms at least once and should have some form of knowledge about them.
Totally.
What was very frustrating for me is because I was trying to learn how to speak the language of breaking down a panel and establishing what I wanted to have happen. How editorial should I go? Should I really go through and break it down bullet for bullet what I want to have happen? And then there are all these things that kind of factor into that. And
what have you found there
really
works best, by the way, when it comes to breaking down
man.
the panels? The lengthy or brief? What works best with artists have you found in general?
So I actually go with kind of a middle of the road approach where when I'm starting with an art team, like my first script that I'm working with an art team, I tend to be a little bit more heavy on the editorial side. Solely because
you have a vision.
You know, it's our first project together. I want to make sure that I'm conveying myself as clearly as I can, as concisely as I can, and I feel that by doing that, I allow the artists the ability to have more confidence in the story that they're telling by allowing them to work in that box. But as we keep going, my editorial starts to become far more vague, and I allow them a lot more carte blanche. I allow them the ability to really have fun because at that point, you know, I was in the military for 6 years, and we have this saying, "Stay in your lane." I'm the artist. I'm the writer. I have paid you as the artists to come in and do the part that is out of my field of competency. I'm going to stay to my lane. Yeah, I'm going to give you what I want to have happen on the page, but I'm going to let you have a field day with it because I want it to be the best thing that it possibly can be. Now, that's not to say that if they turn in a page and it doesn't tell the story I want it to tell, that I won't turn right back around and be like, yo, man, this isn't working. Let's talk about why this isn't working for me. And let's go back to square one. And usually this is established very early. Like you should never, as a writer, you should never get to a point where your artist turns in a page and you have for like final pencils to go to inks or even fully inked. And you go, nope, this isn't working. You're going to have to do it all over again. You should never get to that point. If something isn't working with you, you should address it when you get your initial thumbnails and roughs.
Oh, yeah. As early as possible.
There is no reason why you should, by the time that page is inked, be going back and be like, I think we can do better. You're going to have to redo it. And if you do that, you better be paying them for a whole other page.
Yeah, that's when you're forking out extra cash. So get it figured out in the early stages of the process. That's why I'll tell my fellow artists out there right now, I've worked with people like Michael. I've worked with many other creators. And one thing that I'm always doing is showing them each step of the way works in progress. From the initial thumbnail sketch, really rough, only pretty much I can make it out. Sometimes I've got to explain it to them what's going on, keep it a little tighter. But just to give them a general idea of the composition and what I've got in mind. And if at that stage they say, Clayton, nah, man, none of these are working for me. Can you please take another shot at it? It's no big deal because I haven't invested a ton of time, hours and hours into carefully inking in the details or anything like that. So make sure that you keep whoever it is you're working for, whether it's the editor or the writer or just the creator in general, could be working with another artist. Make sure that you're letting them in on each stage of that creation so that they can direct you. Because I'll tell you one thing, they might not know exactly what they want, but they certainly know what they don't want. And you want to know what that is as soon as possible so that you don't take it too far. And I've known some artists who do this, where they do end up finishing the piece. They don't show their client along the way at all what's happening. And you have no idea if it's what they want or not.
And I have had certain people, because I know some artists that do that, and I go, why do you do that? And they goes like, oh well, I get really anxious about I get really anxious about showing the the people I'm working with my art before it's done. It's like,
and I get that.
Here's the problem. And it's like, I understand that. At the very least, you need to be showing them compositions. Like, you need to tell them, hey, this is how I'm kind of reading the page based off of your script. Does this look good, or do we need to go a different route? Like, at the end of the day, you don't want to be stuck doing a page over. And like, that's really the only place where like I could see an argument to be made, where it's like, you're going to have to redo this page, and then it's on the artist. Because if the artist hasn't given the writer any sort of opportunity to give feedback up until that point, well, that really sucks. But you were paid to do a job you didn't really do.
It also really sucks if you're being paid to redo the same page. Like, man, come on. I mean, you might be being paid to do it, but there's something to be said about money. It's cool. I like money. I know you like money, Michael. Money is nice. It buys good things and allows you to do what you want to do without worrying about the financials. But the thing is that there's also the creative soul. It needs to be nourished as an artist. And if you've got to do something over again, my goodness, it can be like pulling blood from a stone at that stage, as far as your motivation is concerned. Yeah.
Like, I feel bad. I feel horrible when I try to make sure that like we catch revisions that need to be made very early on. But there have definitely been a couple of times where we've had to like completely redo a page, and I always feel like crap when that happens. I feel like I've let my people down, because like if we got to that point and now I'm having to have them redo a page, well, clearly I wasn't being attentive. Like, I wasn't doing my job. I wasn't looking at the page the right way.
Yeah, it's a collaboration process. It's an ongoing conversation. You got to make sure that you keep in touch. I think communication is extremely understated, but it is so important. It's possibly the most important aspect of working with somebody, actually.
Any sort of creative project where you have a team of people, communication is key, right? If you're a one-man army and you're doing the writing, the art, whatever, like, all power to you. I couldn't do it, but like, you're communicating with yourself. Like, there's no real need for that. But there are people who do it, and all power to them. I'm incredibly jealous of your talent, so great. But like, if you are a part of a creative team, communication is tantamount to success. Like, like, you will not have a successful book if you guys aren't talking. Every single time that I do a new book, I create a group chat. Elysian Fields Reborn, I have a group chat with the entire art team in there.
That's so awesome.
Every single one of them. My editor, penciler, inker, colorist, flatter, all of them are in this Facebook group.
That's cool, because they know each other then, and they can see what role everybody has. I think that's a wonderful idea.
And like, it's great for motivation as well, because, you know, we'll have people post up their art, everyone geeks out. That's always really fun. I get to post updates on like the campaign and how well it's doing. So it's one of these things where, it's a great motivation tool, but more than that, it's a project management tool. It ensures that there is an easy, streamlined form of communication for the book to make sure that we're doing the best thing possible. And like
Absolutely.
that, like you can't go any better.
No, I couldn't agree more. All right, Michael, so tell me, what got you into comics in the first place? Because you've been doing it for a while. You said you're doing it in military school. By the way, I can't believe they've got an art class at military school. That's super cool.
Well, it's literally just high school. It's just a private school that's got like a military theme on it.
Yeah.
Like they're military prep schools generally to prep for the academy. So like there is art class there. But you know, I've been into comics since I was a kid. And I think like a big role of that was, you know, my dad read me the Iliad and the Odyssey as a bedtime story as a kid. And comics, more specifically comic book superheroes, are just the latest in that tradition, right? Like they're the latest in that epic heroic mythology that goes back to the stories like the Iliad, Odyssey, Epic of Gilgamesh, all of them.
Yeah.
So like that plays into it. And then I also had two half brothers that really helped watch after my sister and I when we were growing up. And both of them were really into comics. Or at least Gary was. I think Delk was also into comics, but like Gary was an artist, like and you know he actually won an art contest for the animated TV show The Tick ages ago.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. Wait, what was he doing on The Tick?
Well, so he did it. It was like a submit your own character thing, and he created this like puppet kid, and it showed up for a couple of episodes.
Oh my goodness, that's so cool, man. Well, so you've been,
yeah,
go ahead.
I've been around it for a long time. I've been around it for a long time. When I was deployed in 2016, 2017, I got into writing, doing freelance journalist posts. I started on Movie Pilot, doing their independent creator program, and then I got noticed after I reviewed an issue of Superman Rebirth issue 2. Yep. And so they brought me into they brought me into their verified creator program, and I became an official Movie Pilot writer. And then I worked for Heroic Hollywood for a little under a month. That was miserable. Yeah. I worked for a few other industry blogs, tried to start my own a couple of times, and never really took off. But in all that time, I was writing these op-eds and reviews and everything on comics and comic book films. And I would every now and again get a comment, you know, hey, why don't you do your own? These are really good points. You've clearly got a strong sense of storytelling. Why don't you make your own? And, you know, back then it was just like, well, that's not really how the industry works.
Yeah, you didn't think that it would be possible for you to do that, even if like it was a bit of a distant fantasy.
Yeah. And then I eventually decided to pull the trigger after suffering through a really bad screenwriter course, and then finding a copy. So I had picked up this special edition of Marv Wolfman's Man and Superman. This is a hardcover edition of the full collection. And in the back, there was a copy of his script for the first issue. And so I figured, well, if it works for Marv Wolfman. And so I literally studied how he wrote that thing for about 2 months.
That's awesome.
And even when I was writing the original Elysian Fields, the 0 issue, even when I was writing that, I would have that book with me as like a Bible to be like, oh, okay, like I kind of want the angle that was shown in this page here. How would I describe that? Well, let's go take a look at this guy's script and see what language he uses.
That's so cool, man. Well, now you've got a remastered version, by the looks of it, of Elysian Fields. We're going to take a look at that right now.
I think
Check it out, everybody.
Remaster is like not even like the right term. It's a full-on reboot. Completely redone story. Like a completely redone story.
Well, tell us about
brand
Elysian
new art
Fields.
team.
Yeah,
so
like what can
Elysian
people expect in this book?
Elysian Fields at its base is Mortal Kombat with heroes of mythology. So like that's your just immediate hook, right? Like who wouldn't want to see like these heroic characters of legend duke it out in an arena?
My goodness, the artwork looks amazing.
It's so good. It was kind of crazy how quickly I found this art team. Like I was literally, when I was considering bringing Elysian Fields back, I was like, if I was going to do this, I'd really like to find someone that can emulate kind of like a Joe Mad aesthetic. I think that would really, really, really crush. And at the time, because at the time I was playing through Darksiders, and I was just like, yeah, this could work. And then like literally the next day, this campaign pops up with the art team that I'm using on Elysian Fields. I'm like, that right there, that's it. That's the ticket. And so I got in touch with them, and we did the first character sheet of Achilles, and I was like, yeah, all right, we're in. And that so speaking of that, the story obviously focuses on Achilles. We start off our narrative and we see his final battle at Troy. And so when he dies, he goes down to the underworld. He reunites with his loved ones, with Patroclus, and he does this for about 30 seconds before he's ripped away and brought to this arena where he is supposed to fight alongside Heracles and Queen Hippolyta of the Amazons against all of these different heroic figures from different mythological pantheons. And they're doing all of this to help Hades regain his dominion over the underworld through this tournament. Wow. So very excited for people to see this. We've got so much. And like, if you can believe it, the pages on this campaign are the worst ones in the book.
No way. You're kidding me.
Yeah.
This looks stunning.
Yeah.
It's
so
way up
like these,
there.
and like that's not to say that these are bad pages, but these were the pages that were effectively the warm-up.
No way. That's like, incredible, man. I can't believe it.
This is the team. This is the team getting their bearings.
The coloring, the line art, everything just works superbly together as well. I mean, this is a killer-looking comic book. This doesn't even look indie, man. I mean, it looks better than the mainstream stuff that they're putting out. I am blown away by this.
Oh.
This is some A-grade, top-tier stuff.
The other cool thing about it is it's done.
Yeah, it's done. Let's take a look.
So this is actually, I had proofs printed out of the foil upgrades that we're doing for stretch goals. So this is that V. Ken Marion cover with a silver holofoil.
Yeah.
On it, but like as you can see,
it's all done.
Full book.
Wow.
All there. And like to give you, as I said, like, those are some of the worst pages. Like those are like the worst pages of the book. Let me show you. Look at this.
Oh yeah, that's epic. You got a whole book with amazing art in it that's as good as the cover. Do you know how rare that is, Michael?
I do. In fact, I have flustered my way through plenty. It's one of my biggest pet peeves is when I get hoodwinked into a book because of a stellar cover, and then like I go in and I read it, and even when it's like got good art, but the aesthetic doesn't really match, it really annoys me. Like I remember Marvel had this one Black Knight series that was coming out, and they had done like all of their promo was this beautifully painted cover. And that was like, that gave off like some serious Witchblade the Darkness vibes. And I was just like, yes, sign me up. And then I opened the book, really strong art, but it was like, you know, Silver Age, Bronze Age style artwork. And I was like, this does not live up to the
expectations. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and again, and that's even that's even, you know, the art in there was good. It was a professional level. But this is where it's important, where like, great example. I have a project coming up that I can't really talk about in full transparency on here, but I can say it has a very cartoony vibe to it in terms of its art. And so the artist, who has some connections, was asking me, you know, what type of artists we should be getting for variant covers, like what style and everything like that. I was like, well, like, as much as it would be great to get some of these people that you are offering, like, we need to be able to match what you're doing in the book. We need artists that are able to have not exactly the same art as yours, but art where if somebody saw it and then opened up the book, they wouldn't be like, well, what the hell did I just get? Like it should never be so drastic where the cover is unrecognizable from the interior. And that's not even just a matter of, oh, you need to make sure you have good interior art. It's a matter of, if you have Alex Ross doing a cover and that's all you've used for promotion, people are going to expect hyper-realistic style art to match it.
Yeah.
And then if you open up that comic and it looks like Invader Zim, well, Invader Zim has really strong art. It's heavily stylized. It does not match what you were marketing. And as a result, you're going to piss off your reader. Pardon my French.
Very true. Very, very true. Michael, congratulations on this book. It is truly stunning. I myself am blown away and impressed. And man, you know my standard for art. I don't say it lightly. When I compliment a book like this, I really do mean it. And we had Patrick Blaine on in the last episode. And again, I see outstanding artwork. So I really feel like we're bringing our A game to the indie scene here. And you're certainly one of the big players, man. I mean, I know that your audience might not be as massive as some of the other creators out there. It should be, but I can tell you what, the book definitely, it stands up against all of them. I'd put this book up against any other book out there, and I think that it'd sit very, very well next to them. I don't think it'd be easily outshined. There's
agree.
No doubt about that.
And like I really appreciate that. You know, we've known each other for 4 years at this point.
Long time.
And you know, we've got to collaborate on a whole bunch of stuff. And so I know what your positive opinion on thing really brings to, because you do not take this stuff lightly. You go after everything, and including your own work. You are incredibly critical of every single line, of every single hatch mark. And
maybe
so,
too critical.
Oh man, I just remember we were working on that character sheet, and you were like, you had sent me like a 3/4 done version of it, and then I get a message from you like a month later. You're just like, I'm just not happy with it. I was just like, but it was beautiful.
Yeah. No, I remember that.
But
yeah, it was cool though. It's thinking back on it now.
Oh man, like there will come a day, Clayton. There will come a day where the eunuch sees the light of day.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That'd be cool. I can definitely see him popping up in one of your stories here. I hope that the projects that you put out going forth have this level of quality to them. I'd encourage every single person who's either listening to this or watching this to click on the link in the description and take a gander at Elysian Fields Reborn for yourself. Go through the artwork, be inspired by it. I'm looking at this and I'm serious when I say that I'm going to be studying these panels for the development of my own skill set, because there's just, something that I've come to learn in my later years as an artist is how much of an impact the use of shape has in comic book styled artwork. And I'm seeing so much of that here. Every single character has a powerful silhouette that makes them recognizable, and they're unique in their design. And so even that is pushing the memorability of each and every character, every panel, every sequence that we see unfolding in this story. And so I think that it's books like this that we need to be putting out there, not just for the entertainment of the casual reader, but also for those who are inspired by comics. Because I know that's what got me into comic books, was looking at the cool artwork in there. And I feel like if we can get as many books as possible out there onto the scene for the next generation of artists to be influenced by, then we're doing our mission for them, as well as, of course, the audience that we're selling our book to, the general reader. So I think that there's a lot of positive that's going to come out of a project like this for years to come, Michael, and you should be proud of what you've accomplished here.
I really am, and I am incredibly excited for people to see this. It's one of these things where in the past 5 years, between writing and editing, I have been a part of, I think, around 9 projects.
Yeah.
In the past 5 years, and I've learned a lot. But it's always cool to get your hard copy books in hand. But there was something special about getting Elysian Fields issue 0 in my hands for the first time, and this is the only book that I have gotten like my physical of and felt that same level. Like it was a complete full circle moment. I did an unboxing of it a while back with my fiance, Miranda, and I was tearing up. I was just like, oh God.
Of course. It's an emotional experience. A lot goes into it. And I think that you pulled off just a generally good product here. I definitely want to jump on board and back the book. Don't know why I haven't yet, but this is a keeper for sure. Like I said, everything, the whole execution on this project, from the artwork to the coloring, which I guess is part of the artwork, but
I got you.
The line work, the coloring, and then of course the lettering on top of it. And then you got the covers,
dude.
the interiors. It's all good.
There is like a whole stream that can be done talking about the importance of lettering, and how bad lettering could really ruin a book. I was I am blown away, because I've seen some books with bad, it's one of those things you hear people say all the time, and it doesn't really register until you see a book with bad lettering, and then it's just like, oh God, what did you do?
Oh, for sure, man. It can really break the professional quality of a book if the lettering isn't good. Even if the artwork is fantastic, the lettering can... that's the thing, is that every single part of the creation of a comic book, it needs to be on point for it to come across as a professionally crafted product. And it's very difficult to do that. There's a lot that goes into it, which is why it's even more of an accomplishment for you, Michael, to be able to pull it off. I'm going to go ahead here and read out this comment from James Fondren, Acadian Comics, who's been so kind as to give us a $10 donation. Thank you so much, Acadian Comics. I really do appreciate that. You're awesome. James, by the way, is one of the students in the How to Draw Comics Academy, so I have no doubt that he's finding this conversation inspiring. Let's see what he says. He says, Clayton, thank you for this conversation with Michael. This is a great conversation, and I have been taking notes. The tips mentioned here can be applied to my student work submitted in the academy. Well, thank you, Michael.
Awesome,
I appreciate
Thank you
that.
so much. And I did want to say, I actually saw in the comments earlier, he backed the project while we were live. So I think that
awesome.
deserves a shout out. So thank you
Big
so
time.
much. He brought us over 4,900. So we're now less than 1,000 away from getting that V. Ken Marion cover upgrade. So thank you so much.
Big time, James. I really do appreciate you, man. And we appreciate everyone here. We're going to go through the chat in just a minute. I'm going to answer some of the comments here. Got Michael as well. So if you have any questions for him, be sure to drop them in there. But we will wrap up the formal interview here now. Michael, is there any final words that you've got to pass on to the comic book artists that are watching right now, wanting to get in on an awesome project like Elysian Fields Reborn? What do they need to keep in mind? What do you want to leave them with?
I think that the big thing that I can say is that, never stop trying. I get a lot of messages at this point, and it's kind of crazy to me to be here at this point where I'm getting people reaching out to me with professional inquiries about, hey, do you have any projects that you like? Here's my portfolio. Don't give up. I try to be as expedient as possible getting back to artists who hit me up. And I might not get to you right away, but that doesn't mean that there won't come a time. Eventually everybody, I genuinely feel that if you put your head down and you do good work, eventually your time will come. And I've seen it more often than not that's the case here in this industry. Is there is genuinely something to be said for being diligent and just working your ass off and putting the best thing that you can out. And eventually it might not, and it's not immediate. This is a marathon, not a sprint. But you'll get there.
That's so true, man. I couldn't agree more. Just keep on pushing. Never give up. As long as you keep that pencil moving and you continuously look for ways to improve, you strive to get to that next level, you're learning, you're putting that learning into action, and you're getting the feedback on it, whether it be in a group like How to Draw Comics or the How to Draw Comics Academy, where I will personally give you feedback on that work. Just make sure that you keep on pursuing the ideal that you're looking for to see in your own art. And we all know what that is. It's unique to everybody. I know for me, when I saw the work of Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo back in the day, that was the bar for me. That's where I wanted to get to as an artist. And it's going to be you. It's going to be someone else for you, no doubt. It could be the same, could be someone else. But we've all got that ideal inside our mind of how we want our artwork to look. Don't stop until you get there, because you will. And when you do, that battle that you've been up against is going to be absolutely worth it. I can promise you, man. I speak from experience, actually drawing as an artist who has gone through it, that you will get to a point where less thinking happens, more feeling is part of the process. And that's when it becomes fun. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go through the comments here. And first off, I just want to say once again, a big thank you to everybody tuning in right now. We've got 104 viewers, which is absolutely incredible.
That's awesome.
Honestly, it never used to be that, but in the last few weeks, I don't know, maybe it's because we're getting back into the game. Has been
there is something to be
amazing.
said for like going a long time without producing content and then coming back. Like I have noticed
having to come back.
There is like a legitimate like rise of there is definitely there is definitely like a rise in engagement with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know that, but I'm very, very happy to see it. And I know on our last drawing tutorial session that we had on here, which we hadn't had one of those in a while, we were just smashing it. I was mind blown. So yeah, thank you everybody for the support. I know that Michael is thankful for it. We want to support creators like him so that we keep on seeing these amazing books out there. And you never know when that's going to be returned to you as a creator, because my ideal future is that we all ultimately end up putting our own projects out there into the world, sharing our stories with the audiences that we cultivate. And Michael's walked the path, I've walked the path, many other creators and artists and writers have walked the path. No doubt you will do the same, and hopefully you'll have an audience there willing to back you and the ambitions for the project that you've got. All righty. Let's take a look here. Oh, okay. We got 18 people watching on YouTube. Smash that like button. Wow. I wonder where those viewers are coming from then. It could be Facebook. It could be Twitch. I'm not sure.
It could also be Twitter. Has I saw that there are a couple watching on Twitter. Twitter has some like really good live streaming numbers.
That's cool. I did not realize that. Well, there you go. Okay. Let's take a look. So Sheldon says, did you say you see the eunuch popping up?
So,
I see what you did there, Sheldon.
The character that I was working with Clayton on was initially, the plan was to kind of pitch it to his brother Corey as a support character in the Kozor universe, called the Eunuch. Really happy with how Clayton was working on it. It was it was really fun to get to work with him on, and I would love to go back sometime and revisit that design. It was a blast.
That'd be cool. I could totally see him, by the way, not just being a Kozor, but being in Elysian Fields or some other project.
Elysian Fields, he wouldn't work too well in because he is a complete fabrication of mine. The whole pitch of Elysian Fields is you've got characters from different global mythologies, so everyone there is established. But there are definitely some stuff that I would love to do with the Eunuch. It's a really strong premise, and I do think that he can hold his own.
Oh, for sure, man. Look, if I have the time, I'll do it. Getting the time, though, that's the tricky part.
That's the tricky part. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a shrinking commodity on my end. All right, we've got Hell Monkey says, anyone know of a small publisher?
Genuine Comics.
Oh,
Genuine Comics, Dave Brink. He made a post about inkers a while back, and I think that he technically grabbed one, but in a conversation that I had with him, he is still looking for other inkers as well. So I would reach out to Dave Brink and see and send your portfolio. I know at the very least he'll take a look at it.
Dave Brink is a wonderful comic book creator and a lovely person to work with as well, if you do end up getting hired by him.
I have been fortunate in that he allowed me the pleasure of doing an American Bliss series with him.
I love American Bliss. I had the pleasure of drawing her once.
I am aware. That is why. So it was really funny because Dave had hit me up days before you guys did that reveal.
Oh, okay, cool.
And was just like, hey, if there's ever a character of mine that you want to write for or anything like that, please just let me know. And I went, okay, thanks, Dave. I'll keep that in mind. And then you guys did that reveal, and I went and I grabbed it and I sent it to Dave as her.
Yeah, American Bliss is beautiful. And, I love the character design for her.
She is such a great design, and it's been a blast. Because one of the cool things about it is it's Dave's character, but he didn't have like a lot of stuff figured out on her backstory. He had certain points, but there is a lot of ambiguity. And so I've actually been, like the series is called Father's Pride, which is her kind of dealing with the legacy of her stepping in and being effectively the successor hero to her dad.
Right.
And there's a lot of pressure, and it's been a blast to write. And Dave is an incredible guy to work with. So
heck yeah, man. We'll have to get him on the podcast and have a chat with Dave, see what he's been up to. And
also a master of designs. Speaking of just that man does not miss. Like generally speaking, he is fantastic at design structure. Like if you want to that would be a cool thing to have with him, is the science of character design would be like really freaking good with Dave Brink.
All of his designs are so cool. I agree with you on that. And the other thing I like about Dave is he's consistently putting out books.
Yes.
I mean, he's probably got to be one of the most, in that regard, successful creators out there.
He's I think 5 issues deep on American Bliss. He's got 3 of the his anthologies that are out.
Started out with a Perfect 10, if we remember back then.
Yep, that was Perfect 10 issue 2 or 3 that he did the first one of those on. Like, it's insane. He's done so much, and I'm so proud of it. Like, he is just one of the nicest guys in this industry. I love Dave.
He's a good dude. All right, James says that he loves the foil cover. It's looking great.
And that's just one of them, man. We also everyone who backed the main cover is getting this with the lava hollow foil there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. I mean, I bet it looks better in person, but
I unfortunately, it's one of those things where it's so much better when it's like right there, but like it still looks pretty cool.
For sure.
I also don't have the professional studio lighting yet, but someday soon.
That's okay. Have I given you advice on that before? I think you're getting there.
I'm getting better. I think that there was like a thing where like it was either you or Joe Tolliver. At one point we were on a show and you're just
Joe would know.
Michael, you do so many of these shows. Why have you not invested in like a green screen and some lighting? Yeah. And I went, look, man, I'm a very grassroots operation right now.
Well, you know what? You've got the background going on, which is really cool. You got the backlight. I've got one of those. It's good. You just need to bring that camera down a little lower so that you don't have to.
Here we go. There we go.
Oh, there you go. I should have told you to do that sooner. Anyway.
I could have done that ages ago.
We're talking cinematography here today, guys, on the How to Draw Comics podcast. All right. James says, Michael, what motivates you to write comics? What is the most important thing you have to get into your stories?
Well, I think that in terms of what motivates me to write comics is I love stories, and like it's in my opinion, it's like the greatest way for me to connect with people is by creating these stories and seeing people's enjoyment in them. Like I have been very fortunate in that every single one of the books that I have put out has been praised for its writing. That's a really big thing. And
you've got a good reputation in that regard.
Yeah. And so that's just one of those things. Like it's a beautiful way to be able to connect with people through telling stories. In terms of what is something important that I need to make sure that I convey through all of my books is character. At the end of the day, there is the story, there is the plot, there are all of the machinations that make things happen, but it doesn't matter at all if your characters are not compelling and they do not draw interest. And there needs to be a balance of all the things that you see in real life, as art imitates life. And that's the same thing in storytelling is while there is an escapist aspect to this, as it's literature and comics and everything like that, like there is an element of reality you need to bring into it with how your characters act. Like there has to be logic to what they do, and there has to be character motivations, and those motivations need to be factored into how you're telling your story.
I couldn't agree more, man. All right, we've got Nate. Nate says, what's your favorite part of the creative process in making a complete comic book?
Easy, starting to get the art.
Yeah.
Like the moment you're starting to see the pages completed, and like each stage has its own excitement to it. I think probably my favorite are like getting the initial pencils and getting the color work back. Yeah. I know that puts the inkers out in the cold, but it's like it's impressive to see the page inked, but it's definitely one of those who's like, yes, we are very close to having a colored page.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, for sure.
But like, you know, inkers are so crucial because, you know, they create they flesh out what the pencilers do and make it concrete so that the colorists can really do their jobs. It is such an important and underappreciated part of the comic book creative process. It just so happens to be it's literally the middle child. There's the excitement of first seeing the page getting realized, mm-hmm. and then the page is completed with colors. Like it's just you're just kind of sandwiched in the middle there with
links
that.
It together though, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It's an important link. You got to make it a strong one. Okay, Paula says, hey, any successful relationship needs good communication. Absolutely. It's one of the golden insights in life is making sure that you got good communication with people. Everybody agrees with that in the chat. We got Chris Maycock singing the same words. Communication is essential.
Absolutely.
All right, James says, maybe as a student, I should be doing variations of the same page in roughs for feedback and critique in the academy.
That's totally, an excellent idea. Like, because at the end of the day, there's so many different ways that you can convey a page. And so I think that would be a really cool exercise. Is there's a bunch of comic book writers that have posted, like famous ones that have posted their comic scripts for like big iconic issues up on like Substack or what have you. And so what could be like a really cool exercise is take the script for those pages, bring up the page that they represent, and completely retool it through your lens. Interpret what the artist is, and then you compare and contrast.
I think that's a fantastic idea. Definitely do that, James, because I think it'll help point your compass in the right direction. If you've got a few different options there and you're able to compare them next to one another, that's going to be a good little insight into where to take your work, I think.
And I think that the important thing to also do is do not look at the way that the page turned out in the issue until after you've done it. Because you don't want that
good idea. Hey,
you don't want that to subconsciously inform how you draw the page. Completely take this and do it your own way, and then see how your intuition and reading the artist's editorial and everything like that compares to what it looked like in the final, and see what the differences are.
And take notes on those differences. Okay, Sheldon Martin says, yep, love that money. Hell yeah, we love that money. We do it for the love, but we do it for the money too. Ideally, it makes it more fun.
Yes.
Sheldon says 3-act structure. Maybe I should have learned that before writing my comic. Yeah, that's one thing that's one thing I'll touch on is, look, Michael is very experienced as a writer, And so, of course, he knows about this stuff. It's like, duh. But for some artists who are coming in there, they don't have a writing background. Now, I was lucky enough to do creative writing at the year 11, 12 college that I went to, could kind of pick whatever we wanted there. So I picked creative writing, and it was a very insightful class that stuck with me. But what I'll say is when I went into writing Borok, which was my project that is still kind of, on the back burner at the moment, but hopefully we'll see the light of day at some point.
I'm excited for it to see the light of day. I have a vested interest in it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Exactly. Now, before I did that, in order to actually structure it, much like Michael, actually, I did a lot of courses and watched a lot of YouTube videos. I can recommend some of the courses from Masterclass, in fact. Now, they're not super in-depth, but they do give you a nice point of view from film directors. I particularly looked at screenwriting as a place, as a category to learn within. I looked at the writing process of various mangas that are out there too, since they seem to cultivate a great amount of engagement.
Yes.
They have fairly long and drawn out portions of their stories, yet at the same time read in a way that doesn't feel like it's lagging. So that was something that was fascinating to me. But certainly there's a lot of information out there that you can dig into. And I would say don't just keep to comic book script writing, get into screenwriting, because that teaches you about, like, as we were discussing here in this conversation, camera movement, setting up your shots, plotting out where the characters are going to go within that scene. And in fact, if you can, go ahead.
McCloud's comic book, how to make a comic book, is an important read for anyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Scott, because you asked me during the stream, like, how much art background you should have as a writer, and that's one of those things, because in that you learn things, one action per panel, right? You need to be aware of that stuff, because it's small details like that where, and I've caught myself while I'm writing a script where I'll be like, yeah, I want you to do all this stuff in a panel, and I go, you can't do that. I don't know why I did. All right, let's fix this.
Yeah, no, it's so true. That is one thing that I'll share with everybody right now, is when it comes to actually illustrating comic book interiors, it is very different from illustrating a cover, in the sense that there's so much more that goes into it other than just the technical skill of drawing. It's about being able to, I think, optimize, in fact, what is shown within each panel, yet still in a way that tells the story. What I find often comes up when I'm teaching students how to do this stuff is they'll submit a page, and it can be a beautifully illustrated page. Like, there's not anything I could complain about the artwork itself. The character is in proportion, the style is polished, it looks good, but the panels don't quite transition correctly. You have to have logical sense woven into the sequence of those panels so that they can look at panel number 1 on that page and figure out how we get to panel number 2. And that's where thinking ahead comes into play. It's almost like playing chess in a sense. Like, you've got to be able to think ahead. Like, if I create panel number 1 and it starts off with the character having a coffee in a cafe, and then we get to panel number 2 and all of a sudden they're in the park riding their bike, can you understand how there's no link between those points, right?
And that is like the core of sequential storytelling, is you are telling a story in sequence. So it's why it's called what it is now, like you can't just go from hey, someone is about to throw a punch to that guy is on the ground.
Exactly.
you don't necessarily like it, and that's also one of those things where it's like the golden rule of is you never show the actual impact, you show the wind up and the follow through. But like you still need that moment of follow through. You showed the wind up, but then this guy's on the floor. You need to show the follow through. You need to show that moment where the punch is past the guy's jaw or is hammered into the guy's stomach, wherever you want him to make contact that makes him reel over and fall on the ground.
Cool.
You need to connect the dots, as you were just saying.
Yeah. And let's say, for example, that you are given a script where it says, all right, you've got 2 panels. You need to show the guy in the coffee shop drinking his coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then in panel number 2, you need to show him in the park riding his bike. It's like, as the artist, how do you figure that out? How do you make it so that it makes sense? Well, what I would then do is I would sprinkle clues for panel 2, almost like foreshadowing into panel 1. So we might have him sitting at the coffee shop table, and outside the window in the backdrop, we see the park. And maybe next to him, he's got his bike, right? So then we know that in the next panel that, oh, okay, he's gone from the coffee shop into the park to ride his bike. And there's those links there, those visual cues that help tie it all together. So that's something to think about as a comic book interior artist. And it's very important because a lot of people miss it, believe it or not. You'd be surprised. It's one of the biggest
100%.
critiques that I correct in the academy. Okay, let's take a look here. We got Matt LaRock. He says, just take a creative writing class.
That's not
exactly.
all you need. I
it can help.
Like, creative writing is absolutely an essential thing, but it's just one tool that you need.
Oh, yeah.
Like, creative writing will teach you 3-act structure. It will teach you about character voice, character dynamics, creating like planning out narrative and stuff like that. Like, it will help with all of those things. But when it comes down to writing a comic script, screenplays, or like, we're now in an era where a lot more comic book writers are actually posting up their scripts through things like Substack and what have you. Utilize those tools and study how the professionals are putting out their scripts and see how it conveys in actual publication. Use that as a way to teach yourself. Because at the end of the day, these guys have the jobs that they have for a reason. And writing a comic book script is not just creative writing. It is technical writing. You are giving technical instructions for how you want your page built.
Comic books are hardcore for artists and for writers. There's so much that you have to think about to do it well. But you know what? Like I said, these things that we learn, think of them as tools. They're not rules that are there to confine us in our creativity. They're just there to help us along the way. And once you know them, once you know how to use them, that's when you really start wielding some serious power as a creative person. I mean, like, if you want to be a musician, you can bang some sticks together, or you can play an electric guitar. It's just a tool, right? And it depends on how you use that tool as to what you'll be able to put out there into the world as far as your ideas are concerned. Okay, next up we got Paulus Arts. It's very true. Look at Narwhal's art. Took me a while to appreciate it. Yeah, yeah. He's definitely got a unique style. We can say that for sure. Okay, we're going to scroll up a little bit here. Don't worry, Michael. I'm going to let you go to bed soon. I feel like it's way past your bedtime for some reason.
It's 11 p.m. It's definitely getting a little bit late.
Caleb says, what are the main things you look for to measure? Oh, yeah, we answered that question earlier. But still, thank you very much, Caleb, for that. We appreciate you, Caleb. For those writers out there who are looking for some talent, Caleb's definitely coming up in the game with his work, another student of the How to Draw Comics Academy. Very proud to say. Okay, so James says, Michael, you seem to have a good balance between your covers and the interior work that is on your campaign. Very
Yes,
nice.
it is essential. This is a marketing thing where it's a whole aspect of, if you are a person that is looking to buy a comic book, you want to make sure that obviously covers are great, right? Like they're the thing that draws you in. They're the billboard, right? But if you don't show off any of your interior works, that's a huge red flag for, oh, well, maybe the art's not as good as the covers. But B, it also makes people wonder, well, how much of this book is actually done? And
For sure.
with there having been some massive fulfillment issues in indie comics over the past 5 years, it's a must to make sure that your community knows that you have invested time and money into making sure that you have at least a portion of this book completed before you are asking people to invest in helping it come to life.
That is so incredibly true, Michael. Words of wisdom when it comes to marketing comics. Taroya Hollis is here. What's up, Taroya? I've missed you too. I hope that you're doing good. All right, we're going to scroll down here. And Caleb says, appreciate the kind words, Clayton. No worries at all. James says, Clayton, I know you are busy, but it would be cool to be able to get some How to Draw Comics Academy merch. I'll wear a hoodie or a shirt on the subway to promote. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's not the first time that's come up, in fact. So,
should do it.
Maybe we'll think about it.
Do it.
I'll do it? You think I should do it, Michael?
Do it,
all right. You tempting me, guys. You tempting me. Paneling is so much harder than meets the eye. It really, there's a lot of nuances to it, but that's why I love it. Because, I want to be a movie director one day. The moment I have too much arthritis in my hands to draw, I'm going to be holding the camera. And I really do love storytelling for the sequentials of it. The journey. It's the journey we're talking about, really, when we talk about sequentials. What journey are you taking the reader, the audience on? Lewis says, Greg Capullo has mentioned he studied the 5 C's of cinematography, book by recommendation, when he was trying to break in. Check that book out, everyone. I know I'm going to be. Okay, well, we'll leave it on this one. Rand says, Clayton is one of the most impressive artists I've seen. I appreciate the humbleness, plus surrounded by great company of artists. I'm an okay artist, I guess. Thank you so much, my friend. I really do appreciate you.
He says, I'm an okay artist. And I'm just thinking, no, Clayton, you're definitely better than okay.
I'm still figuring it out like everybody. I can promise you that. The last commission I did, I hated it the whole way through. And now I could probably look at it and be like, that's okay. Okay, sweet. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you, Michael, and everybody who's tuned in to the How to Draw Comics podcast this evening. Again, I'll leave you with any last final words that you want to say. I know we already went through that mumbo jumbo, but in case something else has come to mind.
I'm going to keep it simple. Go back Elysian Fields.
Exactly. Make sure you click that link.
Click the link. Go back Elysian Fields. We've got 7 days left after tonight, I think. 7 or 8 days, something like that. I am tired, admittedly. So.
Mm-hmm. And it's printed. It's in hand. It's done.
Yep.
So it is
100% done. Like all that's going to be is once the money is released, we get the books printed out and shipped to you guys.
Isn't that amazing? Well, I'm very excited for this book, Michael. It's one of the best looking comic books out there. I really love the first 2 people we've had back on the How to Draw Comics podcast and the incredible projects that they've got going on. That is just so cool. And I love what I'm seeing from the creators out there. So keep it up, Michael. Congratulations on the book. I hope you're proud with what you've accomplished. And to everybody watching right now, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye for now.